Today's Threatopia briefing covers 0 days exploited for years, ransomware shutting down hospital systems, AI agents being hijacked, and warnings of imminent nation-state retaliation. We have a Cisco SD-WAN 0-day abused for at least 3 years, APT28 exploiting a Microsoft MSHTML flaw with malicious shortcut files, APT37 breaching air-gap networks using removable media, hospitals in Mississippi forced offline by ransomware, and Google warning of likely Iranian cyber operations amid escalating geopolitical tensions. At the same time, AI is reshaping the threat landscape from multiple angles. We're seeing browser-level AI privilege escalation in Chrome's Gemini panel, large-scale AI scraping becoming a board-level risk, AI agents like OpenClaw exposed to takeover, and major policy fallout around Anthropic's technology in federal environments. This episode is about convergence, nation-state activity, ransomware impact, AI platform risk, and supply chain governance. They're no longer separate conversations. They are one interconnected risk surface. Welcome to Threatopia, where we break down real cyber threats, breaches, and the security patterns that actually matter. This is the cybersecurity briefing that you can't afford to miss. Streaming from YouTube and all your favorite podcast platforms, I'm your host, Mike Kramer. For more than 2 decades, I've worked across private and public sector environments globally, helping organizations design resilient security architectures, modernize operations, and reduce real-world risk. Make sure to watch to the end to find out about the Florida woman and the Alabama man that got busted and went to jail. Many events coming up here. Wanted to cover as many relevant ones as possible. We got NVIDIA, GTC. It's an AI conference, March 16th through 19th in San Jose, California. We got RSA March 23rd to March 26th in San Francisco. We got SANS coming March 29th through April 3rd at the Hyatt Regency in Orlando, Florida. We also have a SOC Summit. That's a free virtual event. It's a live practical look to see what's it like to work inside a SOC. That's Wednesday, March 25th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central. For an added cost, they offer live training March 26th through April 10th. There's also a Human X AI conference April 6th through the 9th in San Francisco, California. Google Cloud Next, which is April 22nd through the 24th in Las Vegas. And many more coming up May, June, the summer. We'll cover those. I like to give out next 2-3 months ahead, something like that. So let me know if you want further. I can post them on a website or in the comments or something. So our personal security tip of the day today is to turn on MFA or multi-factor authentication for your email account or any other relevant important accounts, and use an authenticator app, not SMS or texting. Your email is the master key to almost everything. It's banking, social media, cloud storage, password resets. If somebody gets access to it, they can reset nearly every other account you own. SMS-based codes can be intercepted through SIM swap attacks. It's happened to many people I know. An authenticator app like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or Authy is significantly stronger. It takes just 5 minutes to set up, and it dramatically reduces your risk. All right, back to our many stories format. I don't think many people were interested in the strategy, so I'll keep the little bit of strategy I have mixed in this episode, but mostly focus on cyber news and activities, and think that everyone likes that better, but give me a thumbs up if you agree and you like to hear focus on the cyber headlines and later how-tos that we're going to cover. So some rapid cyber headlines today were that Google patched a high-severity vulnerability in its Gemini AI panel inside Chrome that allowed malicious browser extensions to escalate privileges and access sensitive resources such as cameras, microphones, screenshots, and local files. A fintech company, Marquise, is suing firewall vendor SonicWall following a ransomware incident alleging delayed breach disclosure and raising questions about third-party liability. AI-driven scraping is being reframed as a strategic data security threat, turning public endpoints into automated extraction pipelines at scale. A ransomware attack forced the University of Mississippi Medical Center to take all 35 clinics offline, including electronic medical records, causing canceled appointments and operational disruption. Security experts warn that major events like the FIFA World Cup face rising wireless and drone-based threats capable of disrupting operations and enabling covert surveillance. Law enforcement across 28 countries arrested 30 alleged members of the COM cybercrime collective in Operation Compass targeting a group linked to ransomware, extortion, and exploitation of minors. A critical Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN 0-day CVE 2026-20127 was exploited for at least 3 years by a sophisticated actor identified as UAT8616. Google announced development of Merkle tree certificates to enable quantum-resistant HTTPS in Chrome with rollout planned through 2027. This to help protect against quantum computing attackers. We also have APT28 exploited a Microsoft MSHTML 0-day using malicious link files to bypass security protections before the flaw was patched. OpenClaw AI agents were found vulnerable to hijacking, data theft, and malware deployment due to flaws in their WebSocket gateway, skill marketplace, and authentication mechanisms. The Pentagon labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk and ordered federal agencies and contractors to cease using its technology after failed negotiations over AI use cases. The botmaster known as Dort was linked to the Kim Wolf botnet, orchestrating DDoS, doxing, swatting, and account abuse campaigns. The UK government faced criticism for advertising a chief information security officer role at a salary far below industry standards. It was around $175,000, but for that level of responsibility, I think people expect much more. Boards are being urged to shift from counting cybermetrics to focusing on actionable risk signals tied to exposure and business consequence. It's not enough to show you're doing something, but how you're literally reducing the risk and the confidence of that. So Anthropic launched a preview of Claude Code Security, an AI-powered vulnerability scanning and patch suggestion tool, prompting debate about AI reliance. APT37 launched the Ruby Jumper campaign, using malicious shortcut files and removable drives to breach air-gapped environments. That brings back memories of Stuxnet, which if you're not familiar, go read up on it. It's a fascinating study in that type of thing. An Alabama man pleaded guilty to hijacking and extorting hundreds of women via social engineering and account compromise. A Florida woman was sentenced for trafficking stolen Microsoft license keys extracted from COA labels, or Certificate of Authenticity. Anthropic's Claude AI experienced a global outage amid a surge in users and operational instability. And Google warned that Iranian actors are expected to launch aggressive cyber operations globally in response to recent military strikes. And that brings us to our attack pattern deep dive. Several dominant patterns emerge across this week's stories. First, user execution remains a primary entry vector. We see it in APT28's malicious link files exploiting MS-HTML. We see it in APT37's Ruby Jumper campaign beginning with a malicious shortcut. We see it in social engineering cases where victims provide recovery codes or passwords. And we see it in the Gemini browser flaw, which required users to install a malicious extension. This aligns with the recurring technique of user-driven execution, often mapped to T1204. The human remains the bridge into trusted environments. Second, exploitation of public-facing infrastructure continues to be decisive. The Cisco SD-WAN 0-day exploited authentication bypass and privilege escalation in exposed controllers, consistent with exploitation of public-facing applications. OpenClaw's WebSocket gateway flaws were abused to gain unauthorized access. These are not perimeter scans. These are control plane compromises. Third, privilege escalation and persistence through valid accounts are recurring themes. The Cisco actor created local accounts for long-term access. OpenClaw attackers registered as trusted devices. Once inside, attackers seek legitimacy. Fourth, ransomware and encryption for impact remain operationally devastating. The Mississippi hospital incident demonstrates how data encrypted for impact can halt clinical systems, not just IT dashboards. Iranian-linked activity is expected to include ransomware fronts as well. Fifth, AI is both an attack surface and a force multiplier. We see AI scraping at scale aligned with automated collection techniques. We see AI browser panels introducing new privilege boundaries. We see AI agents being hijacked. And we also see AI governance disputes reshaping federal supply chains. This episode's dominant pattern includes user-driven execution for initial access, exploitation of exposed control planes, credential abuse for persistence, malware or encryption for operational impact, and increasing integration of AI into both attack and defense workflows. There's also a geopolitical layer. APT-28 and APT-37 represent state-linked campaigns. Iran is expected to escalate cyber activity in response to kinetic events. Cyber is not just a crime, it is policy, retaliation, and signaling. To summarize our business impact and data breach risk, the operational impact this week is tangible. 35 clinics taken offline in Mississippi, canceled appointments, overwhelmed communication lines, electronic medical records unavailable. This is not abstract risk, this is patient care disruption. In the fintech lawsuit, client data exposure triggered legal action, not only against the victim company, but against its security vendor. That shifts financial and contractual risk. It raises insurance questions. It introduces discovery, litigation cost, and reputational harm. The Cisco SD-WAN 0-day, exploited for at least 3 years, represents prolonged exposure of network control infrastructure. Persistent access to SD-WAN controllers means potential manipulation of routing, visibility, and segmentation. For enterprises, that touches critical infrastructure and core network governance. OpenClaw's AI agent vulnerabilities enabled full agent takeover, data theft, and malware delivery. For organizations deploying AI agents into workflows, that represents a new trust boundary risk with financial and data exposure consequences. AI scraping threatens intellectual property and revenue erosion. Public endpoints become extraction engines. That affects competitive advantage and monetization models. And the warning of imminent Iranian cyber attacks underscores that geopolitical escalation can directly translate into disruptive campaigns targeting regional and potentially global organizations. Financial, legal, and operational risk are converging. There are at least 6 defender lessons from this episode. First, public-facing control planes must be treated as high-value targets. SD-WAN controllers, AI gateways, browser-integrated AI features, these are not auxiliary systems. They are strategic assets. Second, removable media and shortcut-based execution remain relevant even in modern environments. Air-gap does not mean invulnerable. User interaction still bridges gaps. Third, extension governance in browsers matters. The Gemini vulnerability demonstrates that low-privilege components can become high-impact entry points if trust boundaries are misconfigured. Fourth, AI deployment requires isolation, review, and governance. OpenClaw's vulnerabilities show that agent marketplaces, local gateways, and trust registration processes are exploitable if not tightly controlled. Fifth, supply chain governance is expanding beyond software libraries. Federal directives against Anthropic technology demonstrates how geopolitical and policy decisions can instantly alter operational dependencies. And finally, board-level reporting must move beyond activity metrics. As highlighted in the governance discussion, leaders need exposure, consequence, and control effectiveness signals. Counting alerts is not risk reduction. So today's security concept is about control plane risk. A control plane manages how systems operate. In networking, that includes SD-WAN controllers. In AI systems, it may include agent gateways and orchestration layers. In browsers, it includes privileged components like AI panels. When attackers compromise a control plane, they don't just access data, they gain authority over how systems behave. The Cisco 0-day allowed attackers to add rogue peers and create accounts. OpenClaw attackers hijack the agent gateway. These are control plane compromises. For executives and practitioners alike, understanding which systems represent control planes and isolating, monitoring, and hardening them accordingly is foundational to reducing systemic risk. This week's Threatopia briefing reinforces a central reality. User execution remains powerful, public-facing infrastructure remains exposed, ransomware continues to disrupt real-world operations. Nation-state actors are active, and AI is reshaping both risk and resilience. From hospital outages to SD-WAN 0-days, from AI agent hijacking to geopolitical cyber warnings, the threat surface is expanding into governance, supply chain, and control plane architecture. Security leaders must think beyond incidents. They must think in systems. If you found this briefing valuable, stay tuned for our next episode where we continue breaking down the threats that matter most to defenders. Please like this show because it really helps us out. Thanks for listening to Threatopia and stay safe out there.